We're going to talk about a different path to take. Let's say you don't directly go into four-year college. Caleb is here to talk to us about the route if you first started in community college and then you do a transfer into a four-year college. So, Caleb, do you want to share with us about your experience and tell us about that community college and transfer process?
Okay. So originally, while I was in high school, I applied for a couple of different UC schools, and I didn't get into the one that I wanted to, which was UCLA. So what I had to do at that point was realize this is the reality of things, and I mean, I'm sure you guys can understand. It was pretty disappointing, but at that point, I looked into different options, including community college. What I was told from counselors continuously was it isn't a bad idea. I think there's a huge stigma, especially in Asian families, because oftentimes it makes it seem like you did something wrong or you failed in some sort of way, so you didn't get into a four-year university. But the counselors told me repeatedly, after you graduate and get your degree or diploma, it doesn't state that you went to community college. So in a sense, you're tricking everybody into making them think you got into the university of your choice. But again, there are also different benefits that you can be a part of if you go this route. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the difficulties were, and then I'll go into how things changed and how things improved.
Can you first give us a general outline, like a timeline of, okay, now you're on to plan B. You want to go to community college first. So how did it all turn out? Like, you still had to enroll in community college, and then down the line, then you had to do a transfer process. So can you give us a general timeline of when you had to do what?
Okay, so typically you need an SIR or you need to commit to a four-year university by March or April.
So spring.
Right. So spring, while you're still in high school, right? So at that point, when I wasn't accepted, I applied for community college, and there isn't so much a deadline for that. I feel like it's a little bit rolling in the sense that you could apply any time of the year and start the following quarter or semester. So what I did was I applied at the same time, so spring during my high school year, and then I started community college fall of the following year, so around November, October. And typically for individuals who go to community college, you stay for, ideally you want to stay, or you stay for 2 years, and then you're able to transfer out.
Into a four-year college.
Into a four-year college, correct. And so what your academic schedule looks like as a community college student, you'd be taking general ed classes and fulfilling prereq requirements for your intended major, so that once you transfer into a four-year college, you can start with major courses.
When is what year do you actually apply for transfer? That's your sophomore year, so the second year of community college.
Right.
Around fall?
It will be around fall as well. Yeah. So all of the UC schools have their admissions pulled during the same time period. So you will be applying the same time as high schoolers will be applying as well. There is a separate
pool
for transfer students though. So
when they look at college applications, they see they look at transfer students and only consider admission in this pool of transfer students. And then also with seniors in high school, they have a separate pool.
Right.
And all those seniors are competing for a space.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to continue to talk a little bit about the difficulties that I experienced in community college. I think one of the bigger ones was the environment of people that attend. typically you'll see two types of people. One kind of person is someone who didn't get into the college of their choice the first round, and has to work hard to eventually take enough classes to transfer out. And the other one is an individual who doesn't really want to be there to learn. I think a lot of times it is through parental pressures that these students are or find themselves at community college. But it makes it really difficult to feel motivated in making relationships with other students, and also it kind of fosters a mindset that you try to get out as soon as you can, so it makes it hard to want to socialize. What I found was typically I would just drive to college to take my classes, and after I finished my classes, I would leave immediately. I mentioned previously in other videos that the whole part of the college experience that you, or maybe most memorable to you, are the relationships that you make with other friends and peers and professors. So not having that was a little bit difficult. Aside from that, there are a huge number of students that are both international and students that don't make it into their first choices that attend community colleges. So in terms of getting classes, it is difficult. Oftentimes you'll get stuck having to take one class that isn't available because there are only 30 seats. And usually that prolongs the process of transferring. I was very fortunate in being able to enter into like an honors track my first year. So it gave me a little bit more of a priority registration. But besides that, I literally looked every day to see if a spot opened up. And that's how I was able to get my classes. There were some points where I had to settle with less desirable classes and just kind of push through it for the semester, because in order to transfer, you'd have to fulfill specific requirements that are listed on the transfer application, which is called the IGETC, which is IGETC. And in order to transfer, you'd have to fulfill like 60 units of courses, and each class is about 4 units. So it should be about 2 years worth of classes. Luckily for me, I was able to take or get some of the classes waived through the AP classes that I took in high school. So all in all, I was able to transfer in 2 years. But I'm going to talk a little bit about some good things about attending community college. The first and foremost that I am very appreciative and thankful for is the amount of money that I spent in attending. So I saved 2 years of what would have been tuition for a 4-year university, and I paid about 60 years plus a little bit for textbooks.
$60.
$60 for a parking permit and a little bit for textbooks. And another thing is, in transferring, the only requirement that schools look at, or admissions look at, is your GPA. So you really are able to focus on making sure that GPA is as high as it can be.
So you don't have to worry about a SAT score or
Right.
SAT-2 test or extracurriculars.
Right, yeah.
For transfer admission, they're
solely
mainly
based
looking
on
at GPA.
That's correct. One thing that I forgot to mention is once transferring, it seemed a little bit difficult in making friends. You learn in community college that you really have to take initiative in figuring out your own academic schedule and being on top of your game to make sure you get it completed. And so once you enter into the 4-year college, it almost seems as if everyone have already established like their friends groups and like know exactly what the responsibilities are as a third-year student. So it takes a lot of self-initiative and proactivity on your end to get in touch with a good group of people, get to know people, get to know friends, and as well as understanding the responsibilities that you have as a transfer student in being on top of your schedule and choosing the right classes to make sure you graduate on time.
Mm-hmm. So in closing, let's just end with one other really good point. And you kind of have mentioned it, but just to say that community college isn't on your record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's correct. Again, when you transfer into a school, that's the school that shows up on your diploma, and it's really the school that like future job employers will look at. So
even though you didn't go to that 4-year college for all 4 years, but on the diploma it'll be that the name of that school, and then what you put on your resumes for jobs is the name of that school
right.
too.
That's right.